It is the final Village Vice before Auburn and Ole Miss hook up at Jordan-Hare Stadium. He is everyone's favorite Auburn podcaster, Zach Blackerby, and I'm
Wow.
Brad Law. I mean, it's true.
Depends on who you ask, but appreciate that.
Yeah, but if you ask X, that's what they tell you. Apparently, that's been a thing this week. And
I guess so.
You won on a landslide. Speaking of a landslide, this has been a landslide of a series. Auburn has dominated the Ole Miss rivalry. It was a rivalry that was kind of forced on Auburn after they took the Tennessee game away and put Auburn in the Western Division. And, you know, you can play Tennessee every year. Instead, you play Ole Miss every year. They've played fewer times than you'd think. It's been 71 years since Ole Miss beat Auburn back-to-back seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I know Auburn has really owned this series, especially over the last 2 decades. But I mean, and I think the best way to kind of show that symbolically was Harson's first year, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that was one of the better teams that Ole Miss has ever had. If you ask Ole Miss people, they're really proud of that Matt Corral team.
Yep.
And Auburn kind of showed up and whooped them. Like nothing fluky really happened. Auburn didn't do anything special. Fourth downs were kind of controversial. Lane Kiffin couldn't convert a fourth down that night, it seemed, but
and wouldn't stop going for them. Yeah.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. And I'm sure eventually he would have started getting them. But you know, that's exactly what happened. And that's when Auburn kind of felt good about the direction of where things were going. And sadly, that was probably the biggest win. It was the biggest win of the Harsin era. So now you look at a similar situation. I think Ole Miss feels really good about this team. They feel really good about the potential of the remainder of the rest of the season. They're still alive in the SEC West race, which is the goal, right? And Auburn's in a situation where they're still trying to find themselves. They don't really know who they are on offense yet, but they're at home. They're at home. It's at night, and it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And it's this weird tightrope of like, okay, yeah, it's been 71 years since this has happened. You and I talked about over the last decade, they've been terrible coming off of bye weeks. Ole Miss has. And it's like, does this stuff actually matter? Do these trends and these storylines and history actually matter? Because if they do, they all point towards Auburn Saturday.
And as much as I would like them to matter, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. It comes down to, can the defense stop Jackson Dart, Quinshon Judkins, and the Ole Miss offense?
Yeah.
And it's not just those two guys either. But I think that Ulysses Bentley is my X factor for this game. If Auburn is going to succeed in making Ole Miss one-dimensional, which is what you have to attempt to do, they ran for 440 yards in last year's game. Auburn rushed for 300 and lost by 14 points.
Right.
Because Ole Miss just ran every which way. They ran up the middle. They got to the edge. They ran like crazy. And it's not just now, you know, Judkins is the star of the offense. And he gets the headlines because of where he's from and his recruiting story. We understand that. And he's worthy of the accolades.
Totally.
But the SMU transfer, Ulysses Bentley, in the last 2 games has 22 carries for 184 yards and a touchdown in each of the last 2. He's the X factor for the Ole Miss offense. If Auburn, it's a really long-winded way to say, if Auburn's going to be successful in making them one-dimensional, then Bentley isn't going to have a lot of yards at the end of the day. Because if he's racking up yards, Judkins is going to get his yards, Dart's going to get his, and it's probably not a good day for the Auburn defense.
Yeah, but those guys, even if the running game's not going, those guys are still going to get touches. I mean, it's absolutely crucial, Brad. You're certainly right on that. And look, a lot of people talked about how bad Auburn's defense was at stopping the run a year ago. And that Ole Miss game is a big reason why their stats were as bad as they are. I mean, similar to looking at Ole Miss's defense this year, like when you look at Ole Miss's, it's not a great defense. It's not a top quarter of the SEC defense. But if you do take that LSU game out of it, they do come back to kind of where the average SEC defense is. So I think some folks are overlooking, and I probably have done that a little bit too, kind of saying, oh, how bad this Ole Miss defense is. It's like, that could be true if you have LSU's offense, but we don't have that here at Auburn right now. So I think it's going to be a battle Both teams are going to be fighting to run the football. And I like Auburn's defense to stop Ole Miss's rushing attack more than the other way around. The concern I have for Auburn's running game is how early are they going to go to it?
Yeah.
Because that was obviously, what most people thought was going to happen against LSU. And they didn't go to it early. So to me, that's what I'm going to be looking for, Brad. How do they start? How does Auburn start? And I think if they come out and punch them early, I think they've got a shot in this one.
Yeah. Well, the last two games, the home team, and it may be more than that, I'll just have to go look. But the last two games that these teams have played against each other, the home team has jumped out to a big early lead, and they've been able to hang on from there. The visitors have fallen in a hole early. That cannot happen at home for Auburn Saturday. You can't fall behind 17-0 like you did at LSU last week. You just can't. You can't play offensively a game at home or on the road where you spot the other team more than 2 scores. Cannot happen. Happened last year in Oxford, and Auburn valiantly came out. They got to within 4 points after the first drive of the third quarter. But they were in a 3-touchdown hole before they started that. You just, gosh, on the list of elementary things that can, like, there are things that shouldn't happen, and then there are things that can't happen. And that can't happen for Auburn to win the game.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Especially with how good Ole Miss has been offensively this year. But look, let's call a spade a spade. Lane Kiffin in these big games where there's some sort of pressure, because I think all the pressure right now is on Ole Miss.
I agree.
Think all the pressure is on Ole Miss. Hugh Freeze is at Auburn. There's all this energy. They kicked Hugh Freeze out of town a while ago, yada, yada, yada. The drama with Lane Kiffin, whatever. This is a game that means a ton to both teams for different reasons. Like I said, Ole Miss, they are sniffing the SEC West closer than they have in a long time, even though they lost to Alabama. They've got a shot at it. Auburn, no shot at the SEC West, but this could change their season, and it could change the trajectory of the recruiting that Hugh Freeze wants to do at Auburn. The visitors list this weekend is a who's who, Brad. It seems like every few hours there's another one. Naeem Offord is the latest as we record this to say that he's coming. 5-star corner from Parker High School up in Birmingham. He's a 2025 guy, very, very talented and gifted player. But to me, if they're able to win this, one, what does it say about Ole Miss? And two, what does it say about the future of what this program could be with what Hugh Freeze is building? And I think it puts 8-4 back on the table, as crazy as that sounds.
I think it does too, and it might put even more than that on the table. I had a text from a friend who also watches the show. Hi, Matt, who said that if Auburn wins this game, it wins out. That he believes that a win in this game Saturday, and he's not the only one who thinks that, could be the catalyst for, all right, now we've got some proof of concept against a ranked team. Even though it's at home and not on the road, you still got to do it on the road. But we've talked 4 of the last 6 games on the schedule are at home. They have played like a different team at home, and you get a chance to ramp up with another game at home next week before you try to go out on the road again at Vandy. So, yeah, I think potentially a win here could do a lot of multifaceted good things for the program.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And if you're really slanting hard Auburn's way, you could also make the argument Auburn could lose this game and win out. Like, if you think Auburn has a legitimate shot in the Iron Bowl, I don't know if necessarily like what happens this Saturday impacts that, but I certainly get Matt's point. Sure. No question.
Let me mention this too. Let's go back in time 1 year. 1 year.
Okay.
After beating Auburn, Ole Miss was undefeated. They were 7-0. The next to last weekend in October, they faced LSU on the road. Got absolutely obliterated in the game. They only won 1 game the rest of the way. This is the week that Ole Miss's season last year changed.
Yeah.
It turned on a dime. It was a complete change from the way they started to the way they finished. I think there's a lot of pressure on Ole Miss not to try to repeat, because those players know, the coaching staff know, everybody knows what Ole Miss did the first half last year and what it did the second half last year. They're trying to write the narrative that same thing's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, and can Lane Kiffin get out of his own way? I mean, we've seen him have seasons that just fall apart, like what you just said. So does that happen? We've talked about history, right? And until it doesn't happen,
it is all you have to go on until something's rewritten. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. All right. Time for a little buy sell, Brad. And of course, our buy sell segments are brought to you by the very extremely handsome Ross Kilpatrick, serving the Auburn area with locations in Auburn, Lake Martin, and Fort Walton Beach, Florida. From Auburn to Lake Martin to the Emerald Coast of Florida, contact Ross Kilpatrick with Exit Realty Anchor South for all of your real estate needs. Of course, he says War Eagle to all of you. Their office, Exit Realty Anchor South in Auburn, is located at 1922 Professional Circle, Suite 202. That's in Auburn. Or you can call Ross at 334-402-0028. Buy or sell, Brad.
Okay.
Peyton Thorne starts at quarterback against Ole Miss.
I buy that. Because, again, I don't think, and I'm very interested to hear what Coach Freese says on Tiger Talk tonight. Again, and we sound like a broken record. He doesn't code. He doesn't use coach speak. And earlier this week, he talked about about playing both quarterbacks. And I just don't get the sense that there's massive change. So, yep, I buy that Peyton starts.
Yeah, I've been told there hasn't been a whole lot of change in what they're doing offensively as far as rep disparity or anything like that in practice, normal week. So I think Peyton starts as well. Jackson Dart completes over 64% of his passes against Auburn. That is his season average up to this point, Brad, 64%. You buying or selling?
I will sell that. Yeah, I like Auburn's pass defense, and I think it all goes back a little bit, too, to how many does he have to throw, because of how good a job do you do containing the run. I feel better about Auburn stopping the run this year than I did last season. Almost anything would be better than last season.
Sure.
Yeah, even if it's only a few percentage points, I think they hold him under 64.
Yeah, they may win if that's the case.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I'm going to go under 64. It may be 60, like you said. It may not. It may be close, but
I'll be surprised if they don't have to pass more. Auburn outpassed Ole Miss in last year's game, like 130 to 120 or 140 to 130. They didn't have to pass for very much last year. I think they'll have to this year.
Yeah, that's probably right. Probably right. If not, Auburn's in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Buy or sell. Brian Batty is Auburn's leading rusher on Saturday.
Oh, that's a fun one. I will sell that. Okay. I don't think Jarquez has been 100% healthy, but I think they continue to feed him, and I think he has a better day. He had 10 carries for 80 yards in last year's game against Ole Miss. Had a very good day. But again, the backs in Tank had a big day, and Jarquez had a big day. I think it'll be Jarquez, so I'll sell that Batty leads the team. But I do think he will have. I mean, he's going to get his carries, and I think he'll be productive as he has been all year.
All right, I'm gonna sell that as well. I think it's Jarquez Hunter. I just think Brian Batty probably should be RB1, but this game means something to Jarquez, right? I mean, Mississippi kid. I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be a huge opportunity for him. So
we're all waiting on the breakout. We all, we're waiting.
Don't you kind of feel like it's going to be a moment where you're like, that was it. Here we go.
Yep.
Maybe.
I sure do. I kind of thought we had that. We saw that in the first half against Georgia, but it didn't
stick.
Didn't stick.
All right, last one. Buy or sell. Both teams combined for more than 5 fourth down conversion attempts on Saturday. Poking fun at the last time this game, of course, was in Jordan-Hare Stadium. A lot of fourth down attempts by Ole Miss.
I will sell that. Ole Miss likes its kicker, and so they're not going for it nearly as much on fourth down. I think they may try a couple. Auburn may try a couple. A couple plus a couple ain't 5.
Sure.
My math teacher and English teacher would be proud. So I think it'll be under 5.
All right, I'll go differ. I'll differ for you on this one. I'll buy it. I think both teams are going to be aggressive. I think Auburn has to be aggressive, and so I'll buy that one. So course, that is our weekly buy sell segment, brought to you by our buddy Ross Kilpatrick, serving the Auburn area with locations Auburn, Lake Martin, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. From Auburn, Lake Martin to the Emerald Coast of Florida. Contact Ross with Exit Realty Anchor South for all of your real estate needs. Brad
Ross
Law.
is fantastic.
Say that again.
I said Ross is fantastic.
He is. Big fan.
You're going to be so glad when you call on Ross and you use him. So we appreciate his involvement. All right, we got to get to the Village Vice 6-pack.
Yes,
the Village Vice 6-pack. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you about our friends at Manscaped. New sponsor here on Village Vice. If you have not tried Manscaped, this is the time to do it, because if you go to manscaped.com and use promo code VICE, you get 20% off plus free shipping. If you're a longtime user of Manscaped, first, congratulations to you. But second, when you go to reorder, make sure you use the code VICE. It belongs only to us, and we will appreciate if you use that. I can't speak highly enough about the Handyman. I talk about it every time we get the opportunity. It is a compact face shaver. It's easy to use, easy to clean, easy to charge, easy to store. And there are a ton of products from Manscaped. They help you up here. They're going to help you not up here, right? You get where I'm going with that? You pick up what I'm playing, the cards I'm putting down. Make sure you go to manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping using the promo code VICE. Manscaped, the best in men's grooming. All right, our Village Vice 6-pack. We're going to jump around a little bit all over the place today. We'll start in the SEC, where Mississippi State is at Arkansas. Arkansas is a 6-point favorite. They've lost, 4 games in a row. 3 of them have been by 1 score or less. Is this the game that Arkansas finally gets back in the win column, Zach?
I think so. This is an easy one for me, Brad. I'm going Arkansas.
All right. Our friends at mybookie.ag have a 6-point line on this. They're a 6-point favorite at home, which tells
me, lose, what happens?
Yeah. It's a great question.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to fire him on Sunday, but
yeah.
Seems inevitable at that point, right?
It sure does, I think, lead to a slide in a lot of the equity that he has just because he loves Arkansas and he's from there. Yeah, we're in agreement there. I like Arkansas too, but I am surprised the line is as small as it is.
Agreed.
I could see this as a game where Arkansas can't quite get up to they've come so close in some bigger games.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to do that repeatedly when you keep falling short. How about the top 10 Big Ten games? 7th-ranked Penn State in the horseshoe, number 3 Ohio State. Buckeyes a 4.5-point favorite. I like the home team here. What do you think?
I'm going with Ohio State once again until Penn State really arrives. I'm going to stay with the tried and true Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yep, not a lot of drama in these. I think we're going to agree on this one too. 17th ranked Tennessee is at number 11 Alabama. MyBookie.ag has Alabama as an 8.5-point favorite. I think they win. I think they probably cover too.
Yeah, Tennessee certainly can win. They can win this, but there's a lot of variables that I'm just not quite trusting. It also seems like Alabama's starting to put it together a little bit, as we all kind of thought would happen. So I'm going with Alabama. Yep.
All right. So we're 3 for 3 in agreement so far. Number 2 Michigan is at Michigan State. Michigan is a 24-point favorite in this game. Now, the only reason I bring this up,
I'll say, why are we picking this?
Is because remember it was 8 years ago that Michigan had the game won and Michigan State blocked there was the errant snap on the punt. There have been good Michigan teams go into East Lansing against teams that weren't good at Michigan State, and they couldn't get the win. Plus, you get the news that broke today that the NCAA is investigating Michigan for improper in-person scouting of opponents. And you get all the drama that's going on at Michigan State with an interim coach. And I mean, is there any way, Zach, that Michigan doesn't win this game?
I think Michigan's going to win this game. And I think they'll actually cover that if we were picking spreads. I don't think Michigan State's very good, and Michigan's annihilating everybody they play this year. So Sure, I guess there's a chance, Brad, but I think it's small.
Yeah. All right. Not willing to go out on a limb then just to differ with
Are
me
you
on that?
going to?
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
But I was trying to get you to so that,
I appreciate that.
you're the one out on the limb. How about Clemson at Miami? Clemson is a 3-point favorite in Coral Gables. Neither
Yeah.
of these teams ranked. How about that?
That's wild. Yeah, if we were talking about this game going into the season, I would not have believed that. I'm going with Clemson here, but this is probably the one that we've picked so far that I don't like my pick on that. I like Miami. I like Tyler Van Dyke. I love everything happening down there. I just, for some reason, I'm picking Clemson still.
But not enough to pick them?
Not enough to pick them.
All right, you know what? Because I love you, I'll pick them for you. How about that?
Thank you, buddy.
I think Miami gets it, and Dabo's comments earlier about how if you don't win the whole thing, you're a loser. I agree with the sentiment. I agree with what the playoff has done, and what not necessarily the playoff's been good, but what uh, just bluntly ESPN's emphasis on the playoff. They have turned the culture of college football fandom into it's playoff or bust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to enjoy games in October if your team isn't in the thick of a playoff chase. And that's really unfortunate. And that's the heart of what Dabo meant. Again, I'm just not sure how well that's received by his team at this point. So plus I do think there's more talent than there's been at Miami in a while, and I think they win the game. And finally, number 13, Ole Miss is a 6.5-point favorite coming into Jordan-Hare Saturday night. Tigers, Rebels. Let's hear it.
I'm going with Auburn. I think Auburn upsets Ole Miss. I know you're going to pick Auburn too. So, but I just think there's a lot about this game. It's in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I've just got a weird feeling about it, Brad. I've got a weird feeling about it. I think Auburn wins, and I think it's a signature night for Hugh Freeze. That is my prediction.
I like that. I like that very much, and I think there's a path to it. Again, I think you stop the run. You say there's absolutely you put the film on. This is what these guys did last year. They ran for not 200, not 300, but over 400 yards, and you make absolutely sure that doesn't happen again this year. And you force some turnover. Ole Miss number 1 in turnover margin, but Auburn's in the top half as well. And it could come down to that, to which defense can turn the team over one or two more times than the other. But I agree. Night games are special in that building, and I think we see it again Saturday.
Yep, I do too. Brad, have a great game day. Everyone watching, have a great and safe game day weekend. But Brad, I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.